Hello, this is Tamara Caulder Richardson, and welcome to Seeking Heaven, the Near-Death Experience and Other Phenomena. I want to thank you for being here, and today we have a near-death experiencer, Ruth Secreto, and I'm going to bring her on in just a minute. She's so much fun. You're going to absolutely love her. And a couple announcements before we get started. This Friday, and it's always Friday at 6 o'clock, 6 to 7, now, over the holidays, I will have something special for you. I don't know if it'll be live because, you know, family time is falling right around the holidays, Christmas Day, and so forth. But I will still continue to deliver quality educational, spiritual information to you, so you can continue on with the channel. So please subscribe if you haven't. Subscribe. So we can, I can keep providing you quality speakers, and that I can grow my channel. You know, what is it? They say 1,000 people, and then you get, you have to have 4,000 views or whatever, and you grow your channel. So anyway, growing my channel so I can offer you more. I'm going to have some really cool speakers coming up, including a past life regressionist. That's Jacob Cooper that will be coming up, as well as Dr. Jeff O'Driscoll, who has had shared near-death experiences, and also emergency medical room spiritual experiences, as well as Jim Bruton, who's a friend, who crashed in an airplane he made. It's a crazy story. He's so vibrant and so much fun. So there's just tons more. We're going to have mediumship, live mediumship. So please sign up for my website newsletter, southernbellemedium.com. That's Belle, B-E-L-L-E. So if you want to be a sitter on the show, to be read live, I am a professional evidential psychic medium and Christ channeler. And I'm a 6-time near-death experiencer. So I'm excited about today's guest because she experienced Christ, and I experienced Christ in 2 of mine. So I'm very excited. And this person they're bringing on today, our speaker and our guest, is Ruth Secreto, and she has had a near-death experience and an encounter with Jesus. She's also works with addiction as an addiction counselor, and she's going to tell you a little bit of her program she's putting together. She's also an intuitive and a secret medium. She's working through that and coming out. So, it's kind of weird. It's a weird place to be. We don't want to label others, and we don't want to label ourselves. But, when you do love God or Jesus, and then you're talking to people that have crossed over. Some people don't understand that. But, again, we don't need to judge ourselves. We don't need to put ourselves in a box. And we just need to grow spiritually and have more love for ourselves and others. So let me bring on Ruth. Ruth, welcome to the show. I tried to puff you up some.
Tamara, thank you. Thank you so much, Tamara. You are such a blessing. You really are. And it just touches my heart that you've asked me to be on your channel, because there are many near-death experiencers who do not want to speak about Jesus, and Jesus is my life. And so to be able to share that very openly, the personal encounter I had with him, so looking forward to sharing that with you.
Oh, well, absolutely. Well, the thing is, we've become friends, fast friends. I don't know when that happened exactly. I kind of don't ever think that we weren't. Like, the minute I heard your voice, I felt connected. Is that just me, or did you feel that way too?
I did also.
Yeah, I did. The minute you spoke, I'm like, what is up with this girl? I'm like, she's funky. I like her. So you're tough, you're a fighter, and you're loving. But I didn't find out too much later about your near-death experience and your love and passion as Jesus, as your teacher. And it's interesting because we shared it. It's so sacred. And this is why having this channel, I wanted to make it sacred and safe for people. And I wanted their highest self, their beauty, and their soul to come through as much as they're willing for that to be, but to also build a spiritual soul community that we can all learn, we can all share, and we can grow together. Because the one thing that Jesus speaks about is love. I call him the love guru, but it is really about the love. And it's funny because we won't say who, but there was another channel. It's a YouTube channel with a lot of NDE videos. I'm not going to say any more than that. but they're like, yeah, we just need it for you to have like maybe 15 minutes or less of just the big Jesus one. And I want you to say everything he said. And unless it's little girl stuff, and we don't want to hear that. And I'm going, okay, yeah, what does Jesus say?
It's like, how
about
do I edit
love.
Jesus, right? How do I edit Jesus?
Well, the thing is, he says, I mean, it's the same thing. What does he say? Be the love. He told me recently, a month ago, be the love you were created to be. And I just love that. But it really is about the love. And I was telling you beforehand, before we got on this live interview, that he said I looked at Corinthians, 1 Corinthians on love, and love is not boastful. Love is not haughty, where you're showing yourself, oh, look at me, or bragging. Love is not that. Love is not impatient. Love is not vain. Love is not, and love is patience. And you think about people and it's not self-centered. Love is not self-centered. It's selfless. So you think, well, our whole persona would change. And I can tell you that I haven't always myself been, I'm not perfect now, but I lived in this world. I partied beforehand and growing up and all this, nothing crazy. Well, okay, a little crazy. But I did. And I'm thinking, really, you want me to come and to speak to people and so forth? But that's exactly who he picks. He picks the people that are real people, that have had real life experiences, that have seen things and been there. And we are not pure, but he is, and we can strive to have holiness in us, but it's the love. And I'm thinking they wanted these details. Yeah, he said things, but if he talked about how electricity works, which I did ask him, that's not what matters. It's the love. So I want to hear the love story. I always say the greatest love you will ever have is this guy. I mean, because he just like forgives everybody. He will not judge anyone, even the biggest jerk. He'll go, well, that's the best they knew at the time. He takes up for everybody. Don't you agree?
Oh, totally. I agree. I totally believe that Jesus wants to be everyone's best friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, he's my savior, but he's more than that. He's my friend. He's my confidant. He's my counselor.
He's your teacher.
And he never, yes, he's my teacher. He never leaves me, and that was the thing that was so vital in my death experience.
Yeah, go ahead and go through that.
Well, I'd have to back up just a little. That happened at 31. At 21 is really when I'm personally introduced to Jesus. And it's because I was questioning, is God real? And I had a beautiful spiritual experience that after the experience, I ended up in the church, and they explained my experience as being the baptism of the Holy Spirit. So any full gospel people out there listening isn't going to know what I'm talking about. And that satisfied me because it was so powerful. I didn't understand, but what I did know was I now knew without a shadow of a doubt that Jesus was real and that he lived in me and he wanted to live through me. Not just me know about him, but to have a personal love relationship with him.
Right.
And
can I interject right there? Because there are people that probably don't understand, I understand what you're talking about, gifts of the Spirit and blah, blah, the church thing. Some people, I have some Catholic friends. I love the Catholics. I love everybody, but they don't, they might not understand. I mean, I get it, but maybe talk about the gifts of the Spirit and just briefly what that is, because it's funny. I had my NDEs, the majority of them during childhood. And then later on at 28, but I did the same route. I went to Pentecostal because Presbyterian, very uptight, and they did some more mystical stuff. So I thought, this is cool. So I understand, but explain what that meant for you, because there are people with different religious backgrounds or no background. And again, just FYI, I did not really have religious parents. My mom is now, but or believes in God or whatever, but I didn't, except for my grandmother did talk about Jesus. I knew who he was. That's about it. but I didn't really have any per se church background, but same thing. So go ahead and pick it up about you were looking for something more, and what, because people don't understand going into a Pentecostal church, what that looks like.
Well, it actually, how it happened was I didn't even know it was a Pentecostal church. As a child, my mom took us to Sunday school, or sent us to Sunday school, and it was more of a non-denominational church, so they just believed very openly about things. But again, like I said, when I turned 21, so I kind of had a little bit of, Sunday school Bible stories, and I had the Bible quizzes that we would do during church. But as I got older, I drifted from that, and I was, again, I'm almost 21, and I began questioning, I wonder if God's really real, because I was told all this. But so a friend of mine had bumped into me, and she began telling me some stuff that she believed from what the book of Revelation teaches, and I became very fearful, because she was presenting a God to me that was very judgmental, very, you better be toeing the line. And I wasn't toeing the line. I was like you, we said, well, we had a little time that we were enjoying life, what we thought was enjoying. But it's just the young, it's young and experienced and going on, enjoying life. But so she told me about her church, but I went over to the church when nobody was there. I went on a Tuesday. And I went into the sanctuary because the doors were open, but the room was dark. And I knelt down at the altar, and I just did a prayer. I thought, okay, God, if you're real, make yourself known to me. And if not, well, I have 10 minutes. I got to go take care of my baby, and I'll just live life the best I can. Well, 5 minutes passed. I was literally looking at my clock. It was 10 minutes till 12. I looked at my clock, and 5 minutes had passed, and then I get this young idea that, oh, well, we used to sing in church. Maybe I need to sing. So I thought of the song, Jesus Loves Me, and I started humming that song. And as I began to sing that song, I heard what sounded like operatic singing behind me, and I turned around to look, and there was nobody in the church. And then the vibration of my body, I was just trembling all over, and the music was coming out of me, and I had never sang like that ever operatically, but the vibration was just coming from my heart chakra, which I didn't know what a heart chakra was, and my throat chakra. And I heard the voice of God for the first time for me. And when I did that, I knew God was real. It was just, I couldn't deny it. This was so unexplainable and powerful. So
what was said, or what did you feel, or what was that? What, because I know people are going to want to know.
So what I heard was, if I choose for you to breathe today, you breathe. Very gently, I'm hearing it in a male voice. If I choose for you not to breathe, you don't. I am the Lord. And I was like, wow, that was pretty powerful, because I was like, and then I went into some fear, because I thought, oh, if he doesn't want me to breathe, I'm dead, not knowing that in 10 years I'm going to have a near-death experience. Who would have known that?
No.
Those words were so special to me after my NDE.
Do you think that was Jesus, or did it permeate everywhere? Like, I've heard Jesus is different than God. I've heard God, and I had one of those epiphanies where you break down, oh, is it real? For quite a few years. And I did have this all-knowing and this whole, and I kind of got, I am the Alpha and the Omega. I see all things. I know all things. You are my creation. I got one, but it wasn't words. It was like the whole, I don't know, all my perceptions were engaged. How was it for you? Do you think it was Jesus, or was it God, or was it both?
Well, I definitely believe it was Jesus, because it's the same voice when I die that I'll share with you that speaks to me again, the very same voice. So I know it was him. And he became my teacher that day. I would go and begin to read scripture. I was so engrossed in scripture. I wanted to learn everything I could about Jesus. And then I would just, I'd pray, and I'd say, well, what's this mean? And he just became my teacher. He's always been my teacher. And then I would have conflict because what the church was teaching was different than what I was getting an interpretation of. And
Yeah, funny like that.
I was getting more of the love, I was getting more of the understanding, the compassion, the tolerance of God. Like it says in 1 Corinthians, like you said, God is patient, he's kind, he's long suffering. So I was getting all that, but I think one of the things that happened was there was a discord happened in the church, and I got very disheartened, and I left the church. And I could remember the last service I was in. I said in my heart to the Lord, I said, Lord, I love you with all my heart, and I'll never quit loving you, but I can't do this anymore. And
Okay, so what's the discord? Was it you or the church?
It was one of their doctrines.
Okay.
Doctrines.
Which one set you off? Which one set you off wrong? Nobody knows who it is. Which one set you off wrong? I'm curious.
Well, it was over domestic violence in my marriage, and I was told I needed to be a more subservient wife.
You mean you were actually told to your face from the minister?
I was actually
Did they know you were under this abusive situation?
Absolutely did. And I knew at that moment in my heart, this was not the way God would do that. Living the best life I knew to live for God. But because I did come from an abusive childhood where my father was, he had PTSD from World War II, and I saw a lot of violence. And I knew when the minister said that to me that it just clicked. No, this is wrong. Women never have to take any form of abuse, ever.
Yeah, women or men. Jesus never said you have to do that. He never said you have to take abuse.
Right, that's
we should honor this life, if anything. Yeah, well, absolutely.
And my body's a temple. I'm to take care of my body and to honor that. And letting it be abused is not part of honoring it, so it was, but that was what occurred. And of course I forgive them. I don't hold that against them, but
sure.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it took for you to start thinking for yourself and going, wait a minute, because I feel like that whatever spiritual path that you take to God, right? There are many paths to God. We're just telling, you're telling your version, and I like your version because it's similar to mine, but there's many paths. Okay. So you're just saying how you got there, but ultimately it's our own journey. No one can tell us anything. You might get some wisdom from people, or you can give wisdom, but it really is your own journey. So the abuse, you got out of that eventually?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I want to say I wasn't innocent in any of that. I mean, I even though I loved the Lord, boy, I had a mouth on me, and I had anger in me, and I had this fighting spirit in me. I mean, it was so, but that never justifies physical abuse, nor does it and that's, I later am to learn that is a form of verbal abuse also. So yes, I had a part in it, but when the option came to make a change, the other person wasn't willing. So because they're not willing to make a change, I can't stay in it. I moved, I left it. So.
And can I say one thing, because I understand because of sexual abuse growing up, if you don't, and I just want to say something about all emotions and anger. Sometimes anger lashing out is bad, but if it's anger to like, I love myself, you need to back off. That's not a bad thing. That is self-preservation. So to make that clear, being anger lashing out for the sake of it is probably not healthy, but to the fact that you held your own, you had to survive, or you probably wouldn't be here now. And the other thing is you also knew that's not who I am inside. Deep inside, I don't want to be that angry person that's constantly defending myself. But I totally understand that.
Well, and Tamara, many people aren't aware there's a big difference between anger and rage. Anger is one of our normal emotions, but rage is the intent to hurt or harm someone.
True.
So it's like I can be angry, but I don't want to go into a rage where I begin, maybe throwing things or hitting people or calling them names. So there's a big difference. Anger is normal. Anger actually moves us to do things.
Right. If you're displeased, if you're
yes,
angry at most of the time I find it's yourself. You're angry at yourself. Like, why am I letting this happen? Why am I taking
absolutely.
this? Why am I dealing with this?
Right,
Right. I
right.
think most
Right.
anger is more inner.
And of course, growing up, I don't know, there weren't a lot of families teaching healthy emotions. We could see mom
No.
and dad fighting, or screaming over the rent's got to get paid or whatever. So there wasn't any examples of it to see. So you do the best, like you said this earlier, we do the best we know to do at the time we do it.
Wait,
But
there is an example. Wait a minute. We got an example.
but
There's an example of love.
when we know better, we do better, right? When we know
Right.
better, we do better.
I know. And
So,
that gives you compassion. I know that about you. You're a very compassionate person, because you see when people do wrongdoings, you see they just don't know better. They just don't know better.
I had to learn it, and it was after my near death that I then began to really talk about Jesus getting down and dirty inside me and wanting to clean me up.
Oh, okay. I want to hear this. So let's
So-
move right to that. I want to hear the juicy parts.
So I went in to have a surgery. A
Okay.
tumor had grown behind my uterus, size of a grapefruit, and it needed removed.
Oh dear.
They said
Okay.
they said it was going to be fine, no big deal.
Right.
And I went in.
Benign.
When they put me under, I can remember going under and going out, like normal people, what we do. And I can't tell you how long it was, but pretty soon, it felt pretty soon, I can hear the doctors. And I'm hearing my doctor say, you need to put her back under. Then I hear the anesthesiologist to my right, and he tells her this, and this is why doctors, be careful what you say in the operating room.
Absolutely.
Right? He said, you shut the hell up. I know what I'm doing. Instantly, I was out of the body. Now, I'm on the ceiling and I'm looking down at my body, and I can see the girl down monitoring me on the monitoring machine. And she turns around and she screams, we're losing her, we're losing her. Now, mind you, I'm watching all of it, right? Because that's our out of body experience. And then I recognize I'm dead. I mean, here I have all my consciousness, I have all my thoughts, and I'm thinking, I'm dead. Well, I didn't want to be dead. I was in my second marriage. I was real happy.
What did you think that was happening? Did you just go out of body, or was your body literally losing blood? What was going on there?
No, I was instantly out and just looking down, and I didn't have a picture of my body. I just knew my body was there and I was somewhere else. But I could see the doctors. I don't know why I didn't see the operation happening, if that's what you're asking. I didn't see that. But then I see her screaming, we're losing her. So,
did you find out later? What was it? Just your heart weak, or what happened later on? Did you find it with your body? I'm just curious. What was going on? Because you were just like, "Ooh, I'm out."
Well, yeah, but I didn't want to be out. I kept thinking, how do I get back in there? I mean, I was trying to use everything I knew. How do I get back in there? And you can't. I mean, maybe people who do out of bodies know how, but I was dead. I was flatlined. I was hearing it going,
Got it. Totally. I understand.
So, and then, I had the other parts of the NDE, but it's after the death that, when I wake up in recovery, but I don't know, do you want me to go to that part to tell you why I died, or
Yeah,
do you want me to go ahead and tell you my encounter with Jesus?
I'm curious, because I'm just curious about that, and then jump into the Jesus. Yeah. Okay. What did you find out with your body? Were you losing blood?
So what I find out when I wake up in the recovery room, I'm screaming like a maniac that, it's with Jesus, I died. And this is 1981.
Okay, you were a lunatic back then.
Exactly right. And they're just patting my hand. They said, oh honey, there was complications. You'll be all right now. You need to just
complications
rest.
I'd say so.
My body's packed in ice, but they don't tell me why my body's packed in ice.
So you wake up in ice?
I wake up packed in ice. And so then later I'm told that there were some complications, and they said that the complication was that my appendix burst during the surgery. So in the middle of all of it, the appendix burst. But that wasn't what it was either. So 2 years later, when I'm living in Texas, I'm in a car accident, and I have to get my knee operated on, and I'm thinking, oh no, you'll kill me. Yeah, you put me under, I'm going to die, because that's the last thing I heard was they were fighting over the anesthesia. So I said to the doctor, is there something you can do? Because I know if you put me under, I'm going to die. And I went to the University Hospital in Galveston, Texas, and they had a biopsy done on my leg. They do a muscle biopsy. And I have what's called malignant hypothermia. I am allergic to anesthesia. Anesthesia is what killed me. So I have to be.
You are kidding.
And
now
that
freak everybody out, but
that explained the ice.
Wait a minute. Why did they not? Do they not test people for this? Because I know they test for latex, if you have a reaction to that with the gloves, but they don't test for that?
I never had I had ether as a child, but I didn't. And I remember they're having ether, seeing this big round black and white circle making a real loud noise, but I never had, and I always had fever afterward, but Mom just thought that was normal. But during malignant hypothermia, what happens, your body shuts down, you go into real high fever, everything closes down, you're gone. I mean, you're dead.
Okay,
so,
it makes sense. This makes sense to me now.
Yeah. And so, and
always do your homework before you go in and get anything. Do your homework.
Well, they asked they asked the questions, was I allergic to anything? And at that time I was not that I was aware of. And, but again, that God said, if you put me under, I'm going to die. Please test me. And, I'm so grateful I did that. I've probably had a couple more near deaths, because if I had surgeries after that. So yeah, that's what did it. And
so you at least learned that from that. And so go to the Jesus part. So when you're out, how did you heard that, so you knew what was going on? You were aware of that, cognizant that
I couldn't understand it, other than you're dead. But because of my faith always was, well, you die, you go to heaven, you're with Jesus, and that's it. Well, that's not quite it with us near-death experiences. We have a little journey in the middle there.
Tour.
So, of course, I go through the ceiling, and I'm in the hallway at the hospital. I look down, I can see my husband sitting in the waiting room. And, the thing that was really interesting, Tamara, was I've heard many near-deathers talk about not having feelings. Well, I had feelings. But when I looked down at him, again, this thought went through me that was, this is just the way it's supposed to be. It was very calm. It was no longer in a panic. Now, in the operating room, I'm in a panic, out of body. But once I'm through the wall and I'm in the hallway, no panic. Then I go into, it's like I'm drifting down the hallway. But I wonder sometimes, people talk about the tunnel. Wondering if my hallway of that was a tunnel. I don't know. But then I'm in a black void, and I'm petrified.
When you hit the black void, you were petrified.
When I hit the black void, I was like, "What is this?" And
you were confused.
Very much so.
That's and how it was when that hit that. I was confused, like, what is this?
And I was looking around, and it was vast. There was no beginning. There was no end. I could see behind me, in front of me, and mind you, I don't have a body, right? Mm-hmm. But I could see it. And as I'm trying to comprehend what it is, the thought goes through again, and it's from the 23rd Psalm. And it said, this is the thought, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And I thought, oh, shadows are dark. I already knew I was dead. This is just the valley of death, is what I took it as. And then I said, though, but Jesus, you said you would never leave me or forsake me. Where are you, Jesus? And boom, Tamara, instantly.
Boom.
Boom, it is. I was in the most beautiful beam of light. This light it's like, when you see at the car dealerships, the big lights going all over the place, you can see it up in the sky. Well, I'm in this light, and this light is living, and I'm part of the light, and the light's part of me. And now I don't feel the love there, though. I don't feel that, but I begin excelling really fast up. And the next thing, I come to this barrier. It's like tan color, and it's permeating. It's coming in and out like it's breathing. And I'm just looking at it, and then I go through it. When I go through it, I'm in another place. So for me, I kind of counted it and I thought, I was at 6 levels, is what I've seen it as now. When I go through the brown, then I'm in green, and it looks like 18-foot high blades of grass, but it's not grass. And the colors, and being a near-death experiencer, the colors are unexplainable.
Which is why
And
we still like color, right?
oh, I'm telling you. And and green is my favorite color, of course, now.
Oh,
So I go through the green, and I call it the Meadowland. I think some people call it Southland. Summerland. But I call it Meadowland. I'm up like on a hill, and I'm looking out, and I can see down to my left this winding silver river. And it's so beautiful. Now, as I looked over to my right, it was as if, and I have tiny memory of this, I don't have the whole memory, but it was as if I was having conversation with someone. I don't know the voice. I don't even know what the thought form was, but every question I was asking was being answered. But I didn't get to come back with any of that. Maybe it'll show up later. But then I'm shifted in my thoughts, and I see the river, and then I'm sitting on what feels like the ground, and there's a person. This is gonna make me cry.
I know, it's awesome. It's so awesome.
Sitting in this chair or a throne, whatever you want to call it, and my head is on his lap. And he's all I can see is the beauty of the white robe. And he takes his hand and he starts it on the top of my head, and he comes over and he goes down my shoulder. And now the love is permeating me, and that love is like nothing. No love I ever experienced in this world. And I've been in love a few times, and I love potatoes, right?
Gosh.
But this love of God that was just infusing me, comforting me, accepting me, embracing me. I didn't want to leave. It was going, and there's no time there, but it seemed like it was there a little while. And I began saying, "Oh Lord, I love it here. I never want to leave here, Jesus."
I said that too.
and he keeps infusing me, or I don't know what he was doing, but he's doing that.
He was anointing you with his love.
Very beautiful. I've never heard anybody say that, but yes, very much so. And so then I say, well, I never want to leave here, Lord. I love it here. And then I hear his voice, the same voice at 20 that I had not heard. And he says very gently, "It isn't time, you have to go back." And I scream, no. The human part of us, no. And he says it again very gently. "It isn't time, you have to go back. You have to pay the bills." And I'm screaming, no. And next I hear 10-9-8, a thump thump, which must have been maybe they're resuscitating me. Or I've had near-deathers say you may have been entering back in your body, because I've heard, I don't know if you've had, does it feel like a thump when you go back in or something?
It's heavy. I mean, this just to chime in there, my take on that, like when Jesus, I argued with him not to come back to, and yeah, the love, I just want to add something here, because I just got to validate you, because I also experienced him. I did have a body that was very glowy. And at the time it looked like I was at 5, but it was glowy and it was real. It felt just as real as here. I could breathe. It felt just like here. And it was a place that I call paradise. Some people call Summerland, whatever, but it looked like you'd think paradise. But when I told him I wanted to stay too, but when I finally came back, it's the whole story of the hospital. I didn't want to come back. He showed up because I didn't want to, because I knew it hurt. This is a lower vibration here. Yeah. And so some people feel the heaviness and the pain of coming back. And I said, I don't want to go back in there. It's going to hurt. And he goes, no, I prepared it for you. But there is and plus you got to think how fast you went through, how many different dimensions and realms to come back.
Yep.
Which shows that you're important. You got stuff to do. That's when I'm going to kick your honey to keep going forward, because if Jesus puts you here.
Yeah.
No, right?
Right. And, I didn't know for years the bills. I kind of thought,
Yeah,
Maybe I
what is
didn't
that?
die. Maybe I thought, well, I didn't die. Why would Jesus send you back to pay the bills? That makes no sense. I tried to negate that part of the message,
Sure.
but Jesus talks in parables, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. He
Oh,
does.
yeah. Or called a metaphor. It doesn't matter. But it was like, I knew every piece was him. I knew the first you have to go back. But again, like I said, I kept questioning that. And that was after that. So I kind of put it aside. I
Okay.
put aside the near death because
Sure.
I tried to tell it to people, and they told me it was hallucination of the drugs, and all
Well,
that
it
stuff.
wasn't safe. It
When
wasn't it
80
wasn't safe to talk about it. I mean, you haven't even talked about it that much now, have you? Not really.
they'll lock you up and put you in the psych unit real quick. But so life progressed, and I was very, we know from near-death experiences there's many after effects, and I wasn't aware of after effects. I'm grateful for Ian's doing that research and other people who are doing that research, because the body definitely changes.
And
Yeah,
tell people real quick, that's also how we met, which is the International Association Near Death Studies. And if people want to know more about this topic, you can go to iands.org. And there is 40 some years of research on this phenomena that is not something that the brain chemicals know. They've already disproved that.
right.
There's evidence from all over the world, and that's how I got started and came out. I think 2015. I was terrified. I was a nervous wreck. I literally got sick over trying to tell my story because it's so sacred. So I know that you're a bit, nervous even today to talk about it. I said, look, I get it, and people want to know. They want to know that this is not all a waste, that we're all here for a reason. God doesn't make mistakes. If you're here, you've got a job to do. And
Right.
it may be just waking up or just loving the person next to you. It's never necessarily really complicated. So let's talk about the after effects, but I just want to let people to go to IANS.org if they want to know more. It is a wonderful organization.
Oh,
And there are
yeah.
others too.
I'm like you. It was 2015 that I started getting into the research, Tamara. So isn't that coincidental? You and I
Really?
both the same time. Hello.
Really?
Um,
Okay.
so because, I went on in my life, and like I said, some of the after effects, which I wasn't aware of, is that number one, you end up with trouble with relationships. Well, the marriage was doing fine, but about 4 years in, I didn't realize that I was sensitive to everything, and I
Explain that.
my sensitivity was like, if you were being angry or a person was being hateful, it was like knives were cutting me. I could feel it. It was like, and of course I have no understanding of what this is. And so the relationships, I no longer was into like a lot of material things. We had a wonderful business. We had a new home, new cars, and everything crashed. And I, at that time, was still very much into money oriented. I still was thinking, you got to get the right job, have the right house, wear the right clothes. And again,
Now,
guess
what
what?
year was this? This, because most people, they live in this world. What did you say? Be in the world, but not of this world.
This is about 1986. 86. And so everything starts crashing. The economy was crashing. Homes were crashing at that time too. And so everything that I held as earthly possessions was like being taken away. And I wasn't aware of it, but that was part of what my identity was. And you don't take those things with you. I sure didn't
No.
have any of that when I'm I'm up in the meadowland with Jesus. I'm only having me and him.
Mhm.
And again, the love that he gave to me, I kept trying to find that love. I couldn't find it in anything because the houses, they're going away and there's no love in that. And another after effect that a lot of people do is they begin to drink. And I started doing that because I just couldn't cope. And so I thought, well, I'll just take the edge off here. But it began really escalating and causing a lot of problems. And I had a friend who said, why don't you go to a 12-step program? Well, I
Okay.
didn't know what a 12-step program was. I'd never heard of it. And by this time, I'd moved back to my hometown, which was Akron, Ohio. And so she hooks me up, and I go to this meeting, and I'm thinking, well, they're crazy. And they're talking about you've got to find God. It's because that's a third step, says you have to turn your will and life over to the care of God. Well, by this time, this is now about 87, I've convinced myself that the reason I'm sent back to pay bills is because I wasn't worthy to be there. And
Oh, that's
that,
horrible. That's so not true. But
that,
I'm sorry, you felt that way.
when that happens, though, and that's why any other near-death experiencer that I come across that really haven't talked about it, I can share that with them, because that's devastating to think that God, and I think it's a trick of the enemy playing with the mind to convince me that God no longer loved me.
That's not true. Yeah.
And so who wants to live? If I can't go back to be in the love, who wants to be on this planet, But so anyways, in the 12-step, so I'm rejecting the 12-step program because of this God thing, right? But I know God's real, but now he doesn't love me. And I've even went to 2 pastors, and they're telling me once again this subservient thing. I'm like, I know that's wrong because I've already been dead and with him, And but I slowly began doing the 12 steps, taking them one at a time and understanding what they meant. And they came out of the Beatitudes, and I didn't know that. And as I did that, a love started in me. I had such compassion for the alcoholic, for the drug addict, for the codependent whose whole life is all about a person, or a person caught up in gambling, in addictions. And I was like, I would just cry the minute I'd start hearing somebody telling their story. And a friend says, I think you'd do well if you became a counselor. And I thought, you're crazy. I just want to be a homemaker, raise my kids. I don't want a career. That's another after effect. A career change happens. And so I did go to college, and I graduated University of Akron. I became a drug alcohol counselor, and I began working in the field. And I found a lot of satisfaction helping people. But the politics was horrible, and I couldn't stay in it. Again, another change that had happened. My heart was for people, for hurting people, just like Jesus. And so I thought, well, I'll do better if I just work in the 12-step program and help people. And I've worked in many different areas of working with 12 steps. And that's a program I'm kind of putting together to help people. It won't necessarily be the original 12 steps, but it's the spiritual principles behind them. And one of them is you begin to look at your own self. You see, we're selfish, self-centered people. And unless God can reveal that and help that self get set aside, then we can become compassionate. But until I could see where I was being selfish, I was judging God. I thought, who did God think he was sending me back here?
You're spunky.
Telling you. But when I realized that, I thought, how inappropriate of me. How rude could I be that the Creator, my Creator who loves me unconditionally, that I could even think for a moment that he didn't have a plan for me. He sent me back with a very high purpose, and I wasn't even aware of it. I was just so mad, caught up in self, thinking, oh, God rejected me. And he didn't. And it turned out in the year 2000, I was helping a person with the 12 steps, and I told him the history, and a short story of the history of the 12 steps was, I'll tell you this, there were 3 bills involved in it coming together.
Okay.
So the one bill is Dr. Bill Silkworth, and he realized that in certain bodies, the body can't break down alcohol properly. What it does is causes a reaction, and the reaction is the body just keeps drinking. You just keep drinking because you shut off an area in your brain that says stop. So you see, unless you can understand the medical aspect of it, if the person is like getting drunk all the time, then I realized, oh, I just have a physical allergy. It's not that God doesn't love me. I haven't done wrong. I'm physically allergic to the malignant hypothermia. I can't take a drink in my body no matter what. And once I could learn that, I could change. And this was this Bill Silkworth back in the 30s who thought it was an allergy. 51, we now know in the medical society it is true. The body can't break, some bodies can't break it down properly. So there was a gentleman that had this problem with drinking. His name was Bill Wilson. And he's the one who put together the steps. And he goes to Akron, Ohio. Now, I mentioned earlier, that's my hometown. And Bill was staying in he was staying in a hotel called the Mayflower Hotel. My father worked in the Mayflower Hotel.
God
And
got it all planned.
I'm telling you, and then he met up with a doctor who becomes the co-founder. And the doctor took the first alcoholics into the hospital called Akron City Hospital. And that's the hospital I was born in. And when I told that, and the first person that they got sober, his name was Bill Dotson. He's passed, so I can say his name. The person I was helping looked at me and said, "Don't you get it? God sent you back for us. We are the Bills." And I knew it, Tamara. I knew it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I walked into my destiny not even knowing it, from the compassion and love that God had put in my heart for those who suffer, that don't understand. And I get to share, I shared my story with so many people in recovery because they have no hope. And when I tell them how much Jesus loves them and that they can learn to hear him and trust him, and their whole life change. And but now I understand the Bills also have, it's karma. There's a lot of things I had to clean up. I had to get rid of that self-centeredness. I had to get rid of fear. I had a lot of fear, financial fears, and how was I going to do this? And finally, I realized if I have fear, I'm not having faith. Either God is everything or God is nothing. What am I going to do? And I knew God was everything. So I don't deal with, there's this cliche in the 12 step. It says fear is false evidence appearing real.
Yes.
And that's so true, because it's there.
Yes.
God is able. So yeah, that's what I do.
Let's talk about the whole, this is amazing. And this is, I can see so much of myself in you, because I am hard-headed. I don't always listen. I'm just saying, I'm doing better. I'm more, I surrender. I realize now, okay, that the very thing that in this world that the world teaches us, I think, to produce. You're judged by how much you have, what you look like, blah, blah, blah. And, if you can impress people, I don't really care about impressing anybody. But it's totally the opposite. I remember when I had my advertising agency for years and years, what I was trained as a visual designer and marketer and all that. And I would do these plans for my business plan, and I would get it all ready and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to take control. Yeah. Type A, boo-boo.
Yeah.
And you know what my plan is now is that when I get to a roadblock, and when I get to a place like, as life will bring you, it'll go along well, and you hit a roadblock or confusion or for temporarily, I don't get upset anymore, temporarily feeling lost. Sometimes the best place you should be is lost. What is that t-shirt that says, I'm not lost, I'm on my journey, and that's true. Sometimes you need to be in a place of not knowing so you can know, which is very disconcerting, because it's kind of like being in that dark place for a minute. Doesn't last long. It's like you're confused. It's not really scary. You're just confused. But there are so many people that are lost out there, and I really want them to hear this from both of us. But when I get to that place where I'm frustrated, I feel lost, I feel like I've hit a crossroads, I feel like I've hit a block, I do the very thing the world tells me not to do. As I get in a place that's very peaceful, if it's not cold outside, and I just start being grateful for my breath, for being here, for the little things, and grateful for the things that I've been blessed, which I looked that word up, that is God empowering someone. When you say I bless you, that is saying I ask God to empower you and give you abundance. That's a good word. And I now surrender. This is the very opposite thing the world tells us to do. And when you surrender, and sometimes that has to do with emotional pain.
Oh yeah.
There is no easy out. I'm just going to tell people, if you want an easy out, the only way out is through. And whatever you've been avoiding is the very thing you need to do. But to me, the catch is you don't have to do it alone. Your Creator is there with you. And when you surrender, you'll feel there's a peace and there's a love. It may take a while to get there. There may be a few tears shed, but the people that feel lost now, they need to know, I'm hearing your story. You're saying you were lost. You were disobedient. I've been lost. I've been disobedient. Now I'm like, God, what is your will? What is it? Thy will be done. What is your will for me, for the world? What is it? What is our highest good? How should we be helping people? How can we be of service? So talk to these people that are lost, because you've always been a natural, I'll say intuitive therapist, because that's part of the after effects that I know that you've told me that you received.
Right.
The same as mine, which is intuitive, and you're secretly coming to terms with your mediumship, or what that means, because it's difficult. Because
Right.
when you grow up with, if any kind of religious things, you feel like, oh, I'm a bad person. I can do, but that's not true. I think that there's all these. We don't want to label ourselves. We want to allow ourselves to grow, and not have labels put on us, but to honor the life that's been given to us. So these people that are watching, that are lost, that are hearing your story, your story is so powerful. What would you tell them right now?
One of my own experiences was, I had to identify what my ego self was, Tamara. I know my spiritual self, but I didn't know my ego earthbound self. So
Explain that.
okay, the ego self is the one that's always self-centered. It's always wanting to get revenge. It's always wanting more. It's never satisfied. The ego is
Right.
never satisfied. It's always more, 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 more. And until I could learn, here's an example of what you can do. Listen to your thoughts for just maybe an hour. Every thought, because there's a news feed going through all day long, right?
In
And
your head.
we are acting from that news feed without even knowing we're acting from it. We've never stopped long enough to go, whoa. So when I first began to practice that, and I heard my thoughts, and I thought, this is horrible. I am judging people. My head's going, well, you got to get up and do that yourself. Now, I didn't say it out loud to somebody in the room. Maybe somebody said, hey, give me a cup of coffee. My head went, why don't you get up and get it yourself? And I began to listen to that, and that's how I recognized the ego self. And I was like, whoa, it's always opposite of the God self. The God self says, how may I serve? What can I do to better you? What can I give to serve you? But ego says, oh no, you serve me, I judge you. So for me, keeping a spiritual balance has me, I do a daily inventory. So I kind of have this checklist that I look at in the evening, and it's not a good or bad. It's like, here's the things that, was I being selfish? Was I self-centered? Was I not caring about somebody else? Was I doing something with nothing for a reward or return? And then I look at the parts, what did I do today that was like today I gave to you? I could have said, oh no, I'm not going on there, or get into self and go, oh, I'm not good enough. Well, no, my true self is good enough. It's perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your true
So
self is amazing.
when I look at the two columns at night, I can see where I need to improve. If I've been more selfish this day, maybe tomorrow I'm going to get up and I'm going to work more diligently, like just go do something, that maybe make bread or something for my son or somebody, just something they're not aware of. But that helps keep that spiritual balance. You see, I think a lot of people go into a spiritual bypass.
Ooh,
They want to just
explain.
be, but to me, a spiritual bypass is, oh, I'm all up in the clouds and I'm good and I'm just thinking Jesus and I'm just, I've got all the scriptures in my head and all this. But I'm not living the daily life in the kindness,
Okay.
in the mercy, in the forgiveness. So I'm bypassing the everyday life that I've got to live.
Well,
Just
let's
living
take it a step further. Now we're getting real here. We're going to pick this up also. We're going to go a little further with this, but then we're going to pick up some more, get really raw on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right?
questions and answers. Bring them, right?
And we're bringing them. We're going to go there. We're going to do this. It's going to be raw. Me and Ruth are going to get down to it. But I hear you. I think that one of the things, let me tell you, to add on to that, I also see Christian type people, just observation, they're not bad or whatever, but or maybe they don't, their intent isn't, but they're sort of clueless and they're not really engaging, because when you engage in truly being this is a constant, did I do the right thing? Did I say the right thing? Being in touch with, with God, with Christ, or what, to be there, to be a surrender and to ask. I'm always doing that. But I also see it with New Agers too. And I'm not saying I'm either one. I'm kind of a mystic Christian, strange question mark. I don't know. Again, I don't want to label, because I'm a spiritual being. We'll leave it at that. And I have a team
Right.
God, my God posse around me, my angels, Jesus. I got my, guides. But I see them doing the same thing. Like, it's all about love and love. But that there's not a balance there, because we do live in a fallen world and there is true evil here.
Yes.
And the challenge is, as being here, is when we don't, there's gradients of evil. And that's a whole, we'll talk more about that on Friday and really get into it if people want to know. Because I've had supernatural experiences with angels and demons, but I will say that we are in a spiritual warfare. And a lot of times let's talk about thoughts really quick. Let me mention this, and I want you to chime in. I tell people, because I get it all the time as, an evidential medium, I get like their mother, grandmother, somebody, grandfather coming through saying, you've been saying lately, they'll give me evidence and they'll give the message and they'll say, well, you've been saying lately that you've been talking this negative talk, and they'll tell me what you're saying in your head. And so, if your grandmama or granddaddy can hear you doing self-loathing talk in your head, because why would they hear it? Because they're spirit. They can't help not to. That's our true form. We are spirit. That's who we are. That's why I'm not afraid of spirit people, because they're a higher state, actually, or in a higher dimension. If they can hear that, imagine someone you love very much and you overheard them talking poorly of themselves or poorly of others. It would really break your heart. So we have to know if they can hear, because I get it all the time, evidentially, then, God hears it. So we want to keep it clean, our spirit clean, and work toward holiness. And if we have something that's, why am I thinking disparagingly about that person? What did they do to me? What did I do that's similar to it? How can I release that? How can I pray for that person to get help and release me from these negative thoughts? It's a constant, it's like it's a constant work. It's a lot of work, but it's important to be grounded in this world, because we're supposed to be here. Mm-hmm. So that balance. So the trick is, how do we, it's not loving people that are sweet and wonderful like you, is loving people, and we all know them, that are just awful, and they say ugly things, and you turn the other cheek and they'll do terrible things. And then you think, how do you love that person? I think personally, at some point, it does become abusive, and you could send them your love and you can love them from a distance and you can pray for their highest good. And maybe you're not supposed to be with them. But if that hatred begins as a seed in you, then it starts growing, and then it changes who you are. So, you were talking about grounding and spiritual balance. I think that it's like, it almost sounds like, to me, spiritual inventory. You're taking it like an inventory, like at the end of the year inventory.
That's exactly what it is. It is called a spiritual inventory. And you're inventorying your own self. You're not inventorying someone else, because we can't change other people. We can't change people, places, or things, but we can change ourselves. We can change how we think, how we feel, and how we act. Another thing that I realize is people hold on to their feelings. Well, you don't have to. Identify the feeling and let it go. Let it just move through you. Don't hold on to it. So that's where the inventory, again, you can look at it and realize, okay, how's my spiritual condition now looking? And I'd shared this with you privately one time, Tamara, about when I hold something against someone else, and I'm not meaning to, but it just keeps replaying. That news feed is going over and over. One of the things I've helped people learn to do, and I practice it myself, is I begin to pray for that person. Everything I would want for myself, I pray for them. So do I want health? Yes. So I pray health for them. Do I want good mental health? Yes. So I pray mental health for them. So if I'm praying for their good and I call it out, I pray for their prosperity. God, may they have mercy. God, may bless them today with with a loving heart and a giving heart. So I'm praying for them what I would want for myself. And there's a freedom in it. I can't tell you how it happens, but it happens. If you pray it enough, we suggest you pray it like at least 7 days. But finally it becomes a truth for you. So you fake it till you make it, but you will begin to really have compassion of, I call it the compassion of Christ. Because, I didn't have a near-death experience, but when I hear people say that they looked and they could feel everything they thought in their life review, I thought, I'm having an opportunity to correct that right now. Because if I do this inventory, then when I see it, I'm not going to have, hopefully, I won't have as horrible feelings, that the people described it. But you see, my spiritual condition for me is I get a daily reprieve from this old self, this old ego self, only if I'm in spiritual fit condition, which means I got to do the work of being kind, being, everything chapter 13 says of 1 Corinthians. I have to be those things, just not know them.
Right.
I have to practice them. And it's a progress. We progress.
Love you are created to be.
Yes.
That's it. You just spelled it out. Be. If you look at 1 Corinthians, it's very simple. It applies to all humanity about being kind, being humble, being so-and-so, being patient. It's just all spelled out.
Well, yeah, and think of it. Beatitudes, right? In Matthew 5, we're supposed to be the attitude. The attitude was, when you look at them, hopefully people listening, read Matthew 5, the Beatitudes Jesus taught us to be. And it's beautiful.
It's simple, but we don't do it.
Not easy, but simple. You're right. And it's like, and that's what I'm here to progress toward. It's progress, not perfection. That's how I look at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With everybody. I mean, you start somewhere. I don't care how far you've fallen. I don't care if you're in a hole. You can get out of the hole. And, you don't do it by your own sheer will. Yeah, there is an intention that you have to get out of the hole. But there is a supernatural aspect to it that we didn't even get to with the whole God and Christ relation. That's why I love the Howard Storm story when he talked about how he was in the, how, not to go into his story, but when he went to a hellish place and Jesus pulled him out and how it changed his whole character. And he did a review of himself that he wasn't really a nice guy. He was selfish. He laughed at people. He said he especially laughed at Christian people. He laughed. And, the other thing is what our thoughts are. I think we had talked about it earlier about being spiritually mature. And that actually came up for me in a dream last night. Some of the things we're talking came up for me in a dream last night. Of course, we know we all get teachings at night in our dreams. We all do if we're observant of that. And I had kind of restless, thinking about different things and about the love. And it's really quite simple, but people try to overcomplicate it, what it is. But we have to be the example of the love. What is that you may have spiritual knowledge, awareness, mystical, this so and so, but if you have love, you have nothing.
That's
and
right.
So it's really and it's really hard. We talked about this too a little bit yesterday off camera, but that it's hard to be your true self because you got people that like, oh no, we know that old self of you and we're going to keep you there. Where sometimes you need to fire friends. You can love them from a distance, wish them well, ask God to help them, but sometimes you have to fire friends if they're not in your best interest, and let that go on and let them go on because everybody's got their path. But it is real work doing this, but it's just being aware, kind of like, oh, you need to floss, how take an inventory every day. But you're right. To me, there's no way getting out. I hear when I've read people that suicides come through, and I have a lot of people go, oh, are they going to hell? Honestly, the ones I talk to, they feel really bad about it. And they're not in hell. They're not, whatever you want to call that. They are in a place of learning, and they literally start where they left off here in this world, this dimension, this plane, but on a higher, on a more of a God plane, but they're in classroom learning, like, okay, so what happened? There's no judgment, and they
Right.
help them work through it, because there's no easy way. You're here or over there, but here, hopefully, if we do the work here, there'll be more advancements and less feeling of regret or upset with ourselves that we could have used this life more wisely. One of the things that Jesus told me, and Evan, he said, be mindful of your words, because as you speak forth the words, they manifest.
Right.
And so if you tell someone they're an a-hole, that's not really positive,
Right.
or you want to speak life over people, blessings over people, blessings over your own life. That's why if I hear someone say, oh, we're always poor, you need cut, erase it. You want to speak positive things. You want to, like you said, fake it till you make it. And you say, I am successful. I am this. I am whatever. I am loved. I am so-and-so.
Right.
And at some point, you're going to attract those people that do love you and see you the way that you deserve to be treated. So we have to take responsibility even for the bad moments in our life. But here's the thing. That's how we learn. We're an eternal being. It's not like we really die.
And Tamara, I think that's why, call it a light worker, we who work with people, like I did with the counseling, and I still continue to do spiritual counseling, is like they don't know unless the teacher comes to help them learn. I had to be taught. So that's my job. I've got to, when I find someone suffering, I can't just say, okay, I'll pray for you and that's it. I want to be able to offer to them a solution. Number one solution for me is you must find God now.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, there you go. Find God now.
Well, it's a supernatural power that can intervene, but we got to ask. It can intervene, and I've seen miracles. I've seen angels. I've seen things. I have seen you. Look, we'll maybe talk about this Friday, but I have done about 14, 15, I can't recall right now, deliverances. I've seen things that are not, I wouldn't have believed it if someone told me. I'm like, yeah, I've seen stuff I don't believe, and I know there are different dimensions. I know there are different powers at hand at work, and I just stay tuned to God and the holiness of God. And every day I just work a little bit on myself. Doesn't mean it's perfect, but we're not meant to be perfect. I think it's about being spiritually aware, taking spiritual inventory. And I'm not saying just, I'll pray for you. We had that happen in the church when, I will say later on, when my mom was in an abusive relationship, and I think I was 16, 17. Well, maybe I was more like 16. And then we went to this church that started across the street. My mom was having a horrible time. She couldn't take care of herself or us. At the time, my dad had a lot of money, but we couldn't have made it that way. My grandparents helped a lot. They went through their savings, with a sad story, but we went to this church, and mom met with this man. I won't say his name, and he didn't seem like a mean person. He didn't, but she told him the situation, and he basically told her the same thing: go suck it up and I'll pray for you. That we needed answers. We needed answers. And maybe the form of helping people could be a kind word, or maybe if I don't ask God, should I help this person? And they will tell me. And I don't care if I'm at the gas station, I don't care where I am, I will stop and be obedient. I will do that. And I that I'm fearless like that. I will do it. But if he goes, send them so-and-so, I have someone I'm sending them. Sometimes he'll give me a referral, like, Ruth, I'm feeling led. You need to talk to this person. Would you be willing to? And I refer people all the time. That's still a form of help.
Yes, absolutely it is, Tamara. Absolutely. It's something I have seen people when I've heard people say, oh, I'll just pray for you. I believe there is a definite ministry of prayer. I'm not negating prayer. Prayer is very, very important. Some people are bedridden, and they are called to prayer. And that prayer is doing as much work as maybe you or I are doing in another way. So, but if you also are just using it as an excuse to blow them off, Oh, I'll pray for you.
Right.
You know, there's a whole different ball game going on there.
I agree.
You know? So it's like,
But you know what I say?
the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Absolutely. Well, I always say this: when I pray, I don't play. So what does that mean? If you ask me to do something, you're going to expect some results pretty
Right.
immediately, not because of me, but because our God is so powerful, and I believe that 100%. My gosh, when you've had a near-death experience and you are dead, it is up between life and death of your Maker.
Yep.
And
Oh yeah, there's no time for change at that moment. It's over. It's like there was nothing I could do. I'm floating through the universe or whatever it is I'm floating through. My time was done. But
well, apparently not.
Well, I was going to say, but because of his grace,
Yes,
there was more work for me to do. And the beauty was to become aware of that. You know, you know, he can call me, like we talked about, the gift of communicating with those who have passed on.
Well, they're in heaven. They're in a higher realm than here.
You know, I'm thinking, why did that start happening to me? Apparently, it's something I'm supposed to learn and I'm supposed to share. You know, and it's like quit thinking about it and just do it. You know, and learn to do it. It's just like having to go to college to become a counselor. I had to learn from the other teachers how to do it appropriately. You know, there's nothing wrong if you get the gift, and it is natural for a lot of us. Excuse me, I need a drink. But to have those mentors help you with it.
Well, I think that's the thing that I love about you is that we kind of come from the same persuasion of the whole kind of struggles and then a different kind of abuse, but the whole working through finding the spirituality and going to the church and say there's so much more. It's to me, I look at, I'm old school. I think about Jesus, the apostles, the miracles. That's the kind of thing I expect. I expect greatness. Look, what he raised Lazarus. Remember,
right.
He couldn't get to that. What was it? A child who couldn't get to that. What was it? Someone's daughter they could not get to. So 3 days later, they were dead. Well, that didn't stop him. Boom, 3 days. I mean, your organs are shutting down. If you medically look, they were raised up. So, and then he also, 40 some people saw him 40 different times, 45 times walking around after he was dead, not transparent. And I told you, I saw him 2 years ago in the flesh. Didn't expect that. And because he's ascended, he could do things, but he said, what I can do, you can do too. Now, our goal is not to have power. Our goal is to be
Tamara, he said, because I go to be with the Father, you will do greater than I did.
Right.
You know, and it's like, and what he did was pretty great. How am I supposed to do greater? But if I don't, like you say, if we don't ask and then we don't follow through with what he's teaching us, how are we going to do greater? I think there's many people. Greg Braden had a video that was out where some of these monks were using healing technique. They were doing a chant word, and you could watch on the screen, the monitor, just like the monitor or your ultrasound that you watch the baby or whatever. You can watch this woman's cancer totally disappear from prayer.
Well, it's also, to me, it's the power of intention, like pure intention. And then when one or more are gathered together in his name, it is done. I believe that 100%. You know, when you have another one that says, yes, I submit to your will, I'm a vessel, work through me, it is done. I'm actually getting high right now just saying that. I'm getting the chills because that's my angels going, yes, hallelujah. They like sing. And that is confirmation, but that is to me why I'm so excited about you putting together this even more advanced spiritual program. Look, I'm saying that. But look, you can alter things. You can say, great job. Thank you so much for the 12 step, but I got 15 steps, and let me just do a little thing on it. That's okay. That's how we improve. There always has to be someone to start something and then you improve it. And that's the way that we evolve as a species. But some of the things that you said are just really nuggets of wisdom to people about you got to do the work, and it's about really being kind to yourself and just trying to look at the basic principles of what does make up love. Like I said, for 1 Corinthians, and I was looking at that last night till really early in the morning, and I started thinking, do I really do that? But more importantly, some people do it really well, but they don't do it for themselves at all. And see, it doesn't work. It's got to be give love. What is it? Be love, give love, receive love. So you got to receive love yourself. So that's the biggest problem I see with reading a lot of people all over the world, is that love of self, that belief in self. God believed in us right here, right now, to be right here. People are bitching like crazy. Oh, I shouldn't say that, should I? People are very upset these days about, the pandemic, or I call it the pandemic, the election, blah, 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 blah. It's always something, okay? I'm not demeaning it. But this is not a mistake. We're here now. So we can complain, or we can say, what is my part to make it better? What can we do? Which is one of the reasons I started this channel. Let's have a dialogue. Let's be a spiritual soul community, a place that's safe, a place we can be nourished in our soul. And, instead of making things wrong, maybe the solution is you. That's why we're here. And we need to all step it up. If we all did our thing and just a little bit, whether it's having God manifest through you, through music, through art, through helping children, through helping people with addictions. And addictions are rampant. I got to tell you, rampant. I mean, could be
suicide goes hand in hand with that. Suicide goes hand in hand with the addictions. And it's like, that's not necessary. That is not necessary today. There is hope, and we know that God has given us the hope. And Tamara, I know that my near-death experience just solidified the fact I am a spirit being. Mm-hmm. I am human. I'm having the human experience. And to blend them together, how can I have this beautiful spirit self that I am? If I really, really can get quiet, each person listening, you are a beautiful spirit. You are the divine. You are part of Him. If you will get quiet and allow that just to blossom and bloom, blend it with your human talents. Maybe it's just saying hello or pushing a cart back in the grocery store, but blend them together and they will benefit. They will bring such blessings that you don't even know.
And something as simple as kindness. When have you seen, and I'm asking everybody, just think back, when is the last time that you saw someone doing a small, kind, random act?
Right.
You don't see it a lot. So it obviously is important and rare, and it shouldn't be. And then when is the last time we did a kind, small act? And it could be picking up the phone, someone you haven't talked to in a while, and telling them that you're thinking about them, you love them, that you just want to speak blessings in life.
We can make that a Christmas gift this year. The unknown Christmas gift, because Jesus is the reason for the season, right?
Which is why we have you on.
That's right. And it's December, and it's time to, you may be real aware of this, but the green Christmas tree, the evergreen tree, is the symbol of everlasting life. That because the evergreen is evergreen all year round. So it's a symbol of our eternal life. And then the red that we use, the other color of Christmas, is the blood of Christ.
Right.
That we will live forever. We are eternal, immortal beings. And so it's like, even this year, maybe just take somebody something a little green and a little red. Make it a little surprise. But give a gift this year. Give a gift that's it can be small, green and red cookies or something, but you'll know in your heart what the green means and the red means, and it's your gift of Christ that you're giving to somebody. So
that's beautiful.
It doesn't have to be a brand new laptop or something. Not that that's not okay too, but you can do something small for somebody else.
Absolutely. And I also think that the much is given, much is required. So depending, you give what you can based on your situation. It could be your time, could be your money, who knows. And if you...
Oh, and with that, Tamara, I don't mean to interrupt you, but since this is Giving Tuesday, Tamara's wonderful channel that she's reaching out, and she is proclaiming Christ. And that's real important because, there are churches shut down, but casinos are open.
Well, wait, but you know what? I got
give
shut
a
off of Facebook because of it. You know that, because of Christ channel, I got shut off.
Give a
5,500
gift.
people gone.
They can give a gift at the bottom of your show. Just link in and make a small gift. And if you want to be anonymous, maybe they don't have to tell their name to who they are, but Tamara can be one of your people to give a gift to this year.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And subscribe and hit the button, the bell, right?
Oh, yeah,
Because that also helps the channel to keep going. And this is marvelous. We live in a time of who knows who's going to hear our story, whose heart's going to get touched because of technology. And it's not free. I mean, there is a price that has to be paid, and giving your money somewhere, give it to somewhere it counts. So,
oh, well,
sorry, I plugged you.
No, that's really sweet. Thank you so much. And it's true. It's I have a marketing background, but the YouTube marketing is entirely different from that. You have to have so many subscribers, 1,000 and 4,000, be able to go to the next level. And then there's another level at 5,000. So the goal is not just numbers. The goal is the quality of the people that need to hear the messages from people like you, Ruth, and that your soul shines. Yeah, because if you have the courage to let your soul shine, and we have others do that, and I just want it to be raw and real. And I do feel blessed because I can talk to people, because I am a near-death experience, so I can go there. I don't feel like I'm being disruptive. I kind of interject myself in there because it's important, and we need to let our soul shine even just a little bit. But that's all of it. So, maybe this week, what's one little thing that you can let your soul shine, and just be thankful for your life and your breath and yourself, because God put you here for a reason. Trust me, if you were not supposed to be here, you could just be sitting there and you would be gone, and you'd be like Ruth, where am I? I'm in a box. Where am I? Where am I? Like a mom, where am I? And I mean, we're supposed to be here. So there's no mistakes, and everyone is here. We all are interconnected. Your story shows that with the bills, which wouldn't have made sense, but wow, how powerful now. So you are amazing. If people like this, and I know they will, they're going to love you. Please join us Friday on our live chat, which we will go from 6 to 7:15, no later. But have your questions. We're going to go, and we're going to really go there. We're going to just really have even more fun, go a little bit deeper. And you are such a joy. You're welcome back anytime. And I want to support you in any way. And also, when you have more of your things that come about, you're welcome to present it here for your program or ideas. And I know you're like me, you also get a channel message, so I said, and people they're getting that. Look, if you love God, you're going to get a message. I'm just going to tell you, you don't know if it's the middle of the night, when you wake up, when you're walking the dog, you don't know. You're eating dinner. I've had it in the middle of a movie. Oh, that's good. And I'm like, I write it down. It's not me, because I wasn't thinking about it. I was watching the movie. You write it down. I always tell people, keep a Jesus journal, but you can call it whatever you want. But keep a journal to write down your message, because we all have, I always say, a fan club in heaven, because we do. We're very much so loved and supported. So Ruth, thank you so much for this beautiful interview and sharing. I know it took a lot, but I tell you what, it's going to pay off, because you're going to show others how they can also be themselves and shine bright by being courageous. And you are courageous. And it's just the start of so much for you.
Thank you, Tamara. It's been an honor. I just appreciate you and love you, and Merry Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Merry Christmas. And I'll see you Friday. So don't say goodbye too fast. I'll see you Friday at 6, live chat. All right. God bless you. And I appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
Much love. Bye-bye.